Today I'm coming to you from the East Coast of the United States. So this is the first one I've done on the same time zone as advertised. I'm in Florida currently. Last time I did one of these, I was in Albania, and I think before that, Italy. So it's nice that it's morning for you and morning for me. We'll start in 1 minute. I just want to let everybody who wants to be here have the opportunity to be here. I'm going to just be the only video that pops up here. Otherwise, it is going to take up the screen and that makes it difficult for everybody to see. Okay, it is 11 a.m. We're going to go ahead and get started promptly. This is how to find a killer source of income. And I'm very happy that you're here. So let's get started. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the source of income that took me from being a broke single mom to being able to be home with my children, and provide for everybody and have a flexible schedule. And what I need y'all to understand is that my kids are grown now, they're adults. Um, this same source of income then allowed me to travel full time. That's a kind of like freedom and flexibility. So when I was raising my kids, I didn't do a lot of traveling. We went from Tennessee to Florida. We did a lot of road trips. There was a lot of flexibility, a lot of flexibility. My kids will even still tell you now that like their favorite days were when I would go pick them up from school a little bit early on like a Wednesday and then take them to Disney World in the evening. In the afternoon and evening. So lots of flexibility. I was able to be home with my kids, which was the important thing, and provide. And now after in about 2019 is when I started to like actually travel. And then of course the world shut down and we know how that went. Okay, so the purpose of this webinar is to give you basic keys to success and help you break free from your current situation. And what you need to understand is that a lot of what's keeping you in your current situation is just knowledge. It's knowledge and mindset, right? Like there's like in the Guinness Book of World Records or athletic records, right? Like there'll be like a ceiling that people will hit with that athletic ability until somebody breaks the ceiling. And once that one person breaks the ceiling, then everybody kind of like, it's like something turns on and they go, oh, it's possible. And then everybody's like a lot of people start to break it, right? So this webinar is going to be a lot of like, oh, it's possible. And I'm gonna lay it out and I'm gonna use the source of income that I had to walk you through like the key components. But those key components can be used to help you navigate all kinds of different sources of income. Okay, so that's really the important thing. I'm going to use what I use as income to illustrate, but please know that those rules or laws or secrets or whatever you want to call them apply to everything. And my purpose is I want to help you navigate this. Okay. Okay, so we're going to cover blocks, we're going to cover secret elements, and we're going to cover a little bit of the magic fuel. Okay. Um, and I'll email out, I have like a little guide, like a little thing you can print off and you can like kind of help write out your ideas and whatever. I will email that out afterwards. Okay, so first, who am I? My name is Jessica Rose Greenwood. Like I said, I'm a single mom. I've got two kids, whom you just saw. I've been working from home for over 13 years. I actually think I need to update this particular slide because it's about 15 years. Now I'm a digital nomad, which means I'm a nomad. I move around and digital. My work and everything that I do is online. Okay, I won't touch anything unless it's online and it allows me that freedom. And I have had that mentality since I started this, since I started looking in like the early 2000s when this was not, it was unheard of. Okay, so a little bit of my history. I became a single mom in 2007. In 2008, I got fired because we all got the flu, we all got fevers, and I missed too much work. Okay. It was at that point that I was like, whoa, okay, this like the US work environment, particularly at that time, was so unfriendly to mothers, right? Like there's this saying that like mothers are expected to raise children like they don't have to work and work like they don't have children, right? So I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. Like this is not sustainable. I remember at that time, of course, this was like, a long time ago, going into work, like taking care of my kids, they were better, and then I got the flu, going into work with a fever of like 102, 103 because I had to be there, right? And then the next day I just collapsed. And that's when I lost my job. In 2010, got fired again, same thing. I had to bring like changes of clothing to my children it at their school, which was like at this time we were in Tennessee, it was like a half-hour commute. And it was like I was expected to work like I didn't have children, but then also be a mom like I didn't have to work. And I was just like, I'm not going to survive like this. Not to mention, right? I was young 20 something woman in the early 2000s. Like, where was I going to find a job that was going to pay me enough that that I would be able to support my family? I was told at that time, my dad was like, listen, you either need to get remarried so that you have a two-income household, or, have a husband that makes enough that can support everyone, or you're going to need to work two jobs. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to rush into marriage for money, and I'm not going to work two jobs because when am I ever going to see my kids? So I had like a really strong necessity at this time to fix this. And I had been eyeing this particular field of medical billing for years prior because I had a family member. Like I was in this field working, like doing software sales for like healthcare offices. The practice management software that manages everything. Um, and I had an aunt that was running a medical billing service from home. And I saw that and I was like, wait a second. Let me see what that's about, right? So this had started to really churn. In 2010, I ended up getting my first client as a medical billing service. Literally right at the time that I lost it was almost like divine intervention. I lost my job at the same time I went to a convention, a healthcare convention, because remember I was in this field, and a consultant came up to me and said, Jessica, I need you to help my clients. And at the time I was like, sure, anything except for billing, because billing was notorious for being like difficult, and it was constantly a problem for people. It's still constantly a problem for people, but that's a good thing. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So that's when that started, and that is when my whole life changed because now I was working from home. I was working, I think at that time my kids were pretty young, so I would hang out with my kids during the day, and then after they went to bed, I would work. The only exception to that was if I had to call an insurance company or whatever, I would have to do it in earlier hours. And then in 2016, I was doing like kind of full-time study. And I kept having people come up to me because I would go into this local cafe and work in the morning, and then I would go study. And I had friends and stuff come up to me and go like, how are you doing this? Can you hire me? And I was like, no, not really. And even if I did hire you, you're not going to have the same perks that I have because it's my business, right? So that's when the light bulb sort of clicked, and I went, wait a second, what if I, like the way that I looked at what my aunt was doing and pieced it together and repeated it for myself, what if I just laid it all out for people? And what if I said, look, this is how you get clients. This is what you're going to do. This is how, you become a medical biller. And what I had discovered also at that time, because I was working with offices, is that I was really good at taking complex subjects and distilling them down to the simplicities that were needed to actually get results, right? So I said, okay, let me see if I can start training people. So I started training people one-on-one. Okay, this is how you take what I did and just copy it and do it for yourself. And then in 2019 is when I was like, you know what? My kids are getting older. They were like teens at that time. I've always had this dream to travel with them. It's now or never. Ended up being never. Uh, in 2019, and we actually had flights out of the US in March of 2020, and we all know how that went. I did eventually get to like travel with them individually some, but that's when I officially like put everything in storage and was like, pulled up the anchor, and we know how that went. But nevertheless, this was the moment. We were living in Nashville, Tennessee when I got my first clients, and by this point, I would put them on the bus to school, and I would work while they were at school, and then I would go pick them up off the bus, and we would just go hang out by the pool. Like I was so tan at this time, and that is feet. That is a feat for me. I am not a tan person. Um, and we would just hang out and spend quality time. And I distinctly remember this moment being the moment when my stress went from like 1,000 way, 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 way down, right? As low as stress can get when you're raising two kids by yourself. But it just dropped because it was like my time was under my control and I didn't have to work. I would work a few hours in the morning and I made all the money that I needed in order to raise my family. And if I had a sick kid that day, that was okay. I didn't have to work that day. Or maybe I had a couple tasks that were like, okay, I really need to answer this email or I need to get this information, and then I'm done. It was a flexibility around freedom and income, around time and income, that changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And then of course now I travel. They're grown. They have their own lives. My daughter's in New York, my son's in Florida. And I get to travel, which is something that has always been a dream of mine. This is one of my trainees. It says, thanks to Jessica's help, I was essentially able to take my previous two part-time jobs and replace them with the income that I make from my own business, which is beautiful because I can set my own hours and arrange my day in the way that I want to while still generating the same amount of income that I was making from those jobs. And when she wrote this was a few years ago, and now she's making way more, way, way, way more. And she's still doing it. She was one of my very first trainees. And she's still doing her billing service, which is amazing. Like now, before it was about survival, and now I get to help people. I get to help people, and I especially love when I get to help moms. That's what makes my heart beat, is when I get to help moms. I get to help them be more present. I get to help them, because there's so many moms that are, they're having to work full time, but they're also carrying the largest part of the burden with regards to domestic work and child rearing. And it's unfair. But if I can do something that makes the money component easier and frees them up to not only have time for their family, but to have time for themselves, that's really what lights me up. Okay, so you don't have to answer this in the comments. You don't have to tell me, but I want you to start. We're gonna dive in now, okay? Now that you understand a little bit about how I got the information that I got, I want you to ask yourself, am I making enough money? Okay, whatever. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Enough is whatever is enough for you. Okay, do you have enough to pay your bills, or are you super stressed out? Do you have enough for whatever additional things you want to do? Enhancement. Do you have enough for the charity work that you want to do, the donations that you want to make? Do you have enough? And this is just to start getting the wheels churning. And I want you to understand, I'm not a big hustle culture person. Like, I'm not a big money for money's sake person. Money is the energy that allows you to build the life that you want. That's how I consider money. I'm not interested in just hoarding money for what I like, having a lot of money, but I don't need to just hoard it just to hoard it. I view money as the energy to help you create the life that you want, to help you do the charity work that you want, to help you have the things that you want to have, to help you be home with your kids, to help you, maybe you've always had a passion for art, but you just don't have enough time to do your art. But art is what sets your soul on fire. I want you to be able to have the energy, the money, in a way that isn't like consuming your time and your soul and everything else. Okay. Two, is your current schedule as flexible as you would like it to be? And important is this is just imagination at this point. This is just this. I'm not asking you to moderate this or edit this based on what you currently believe is possible. I actually want you to just imagine if I had a perfect world, what would it look like? And what would I be doing in life if I were not tied down to my current job? Okay. And maybe you're not working a current job. Maybe you have some more flexibility, but you're here for a reason, right? So what I want you to do is start envisioning what is your ideal life? What would you be doing if your energy, your money, and your time were freer for you to decide where you get to dedicate them? Okay, so the freedom shift, the essential shift we're aiming for is not about money. Yes, we like money, we need money. But if you focus only on the dollar amount, that's how people end up in jobs that they hate. That's how they end up. If you focus only on the dollar amount, you can end up working 80 hours a week with no flexibility. You can end up doing something you really don't like doing. So, money is the essential energy, right? It's like a car. You need fuel. Like you can't ignore the fact that your car needs gasoline. It needs it. But if you only focus on gasoline, like you miss the boat, you miss the point entirely. Okay, so here's the trap. You're working long hours to make someone else rich and still barely getting by. In my travels, every economy I've ever seen gives people just enough to keep them stuck in whatever that economic trap is. So whatever the average salaries are just enough that you won't break out of it and not have to not work, right? Did that make sense? They need you as essential parts of the machine. So you're never really going to make enough that you get to walk away from the machine. So we have to be a little bit more clever about this machine. And right now with the internet, with AI, with all of that, like we have a really great opportunity to actually just take yourself out of that machine and use it to your advantage. Okay, so you feel the weight of responsibility but have no real control over your time or income. The economy is dictating like, okay, well, you're this age and you have this experience, so you're going to make 25 an hour or whatever it is that you're going to make, okay? You want to be present for your kids or your life, but your job keeps taking the best of you. Somebody once pointed out to me that and this is going to sound so grim, but I feel like it's a blunt way of looking at it. The office cubicle are like energy harvesting cubicles. You plug in, someone else takes all this energy, they give you an amount of money that they determine you're worth, right? And then they leave you with what? Not very much extra time. And the extra time that you do have, you're tired. Um, you've got ambition and grit, but no clear path to use it for your own freedom. You're tired of sacrificing your energy, dreams, and peace for a paycheck that doesn't reflect your worth. And deep down, you know you're meant for more, but you need a way out that's actually doable. Okay. Now, the goal is you work when you want from wherever you are on your terms. Obviously, the caveat to that is that you need to have Wi-Fi. Like you can't go to the middle of the desert where there's no Wi-Fi. So when I say from wherever you want, like you do have to be plugged in. You create steady professional income that supports your life, not steals from it. Okay. To be in a place where all the energy that you generate gets to go towards something that you actually like towards building a life that you're actually excited about creating is a different level of contentment. Okay. You have time for your kids, your dreams, and your well-being. You become the kind of person who owns their life, not just survives it. You no longer ask for opportunity, you build it. Okay. A lot of employment, the mentality is like asking, can I have a job? Will you let me work remote? Which a lot of companies now are, by the way, are just saying, no, you can't work remote. You have to come into the office. So what I'm asking you to do is to actually, I'm trying to give you the pieces and the components so that you can kind of like step outside of it and start to like piece it together like a little Lego city, you know? And you realize you were never lacking. You just never shown the right path. Okay. And again, these components I'm going to give you, I'm by no means saying this is the only type of income that will get you there. It's absolutely not. There's lots of possibility and lots of potential for lots of different types of income. Okay. But here's a deeper transformation. You go from exhausted employee to empowered expert with real options. The options that I have right now, because I mastered this field of medical billing, are actually insane. Like they're actually like there's a billing service, and then once you've done that for a while and you become an expert in the field, now you unlock an area of like high level, high dollar consulting. Like at the time that I started this business, I was an artist, I was an actress, I was a young 20 something with big dreams. And I almost felt like it was a failure to really dial down into this sort of dry field of medical billing. But it is the best thing I ever did. It is the best thing I ever did. And I'm going to explain a little bit more why this particular source of income is so smart. Um, but the fact that I am an expert in this field has unlocked potential that like I can't even explain. I told you earlier that like I didn't want to do medical billing because it was this notorious problem, right? Well, the thing is that it's still this notorious problem, which now makes me as an expert, as somebody really good at what I do, highly sought after. Okay. You stop begging for flexibility and embody freedom. I just had a friend basically just say, but you get to work whenever you want to, right? Yeah, pretty much. I get to work whenever I want to. And that's not a gift that a particular source of income gave me. That's something that I hold as a value. And so I just don't do anything that doesn't allow that. You build something that no one else can take from you. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your sense of self. You have the time and money for your personal goals. Because what's the point if you don't? Okay. And you do it without sacrificing your values, your softness, or your soul. Okay. That's what I said. I'm not a big hustle culture girly. I don't think that you need to hammer away until you're stressed and malnourished. And I don't do that. I don't do that. And I would be a hypocrite if I told you you needed to do it. You do need to work and you need to have persistence. Um, but we do it in a way that isn't sacrificing our soul. So here we go. So now I work from beautiful locations. I have time for my kids. I can support my kids. I can help them when they need it. Um, and I travel. And those were what was important to me. Yours might be something different, but this is the actual manifestation of the values that I had that were important to me and how I think about money and that flexibility that has allowed these things to manifest. Okay, good. So the best income is the income that allows you to build the life that you want. That's the best income. It isn't the income that the person up the street is doing that allowed her to build the life that she wants. It's the income that allows you to build the life that you want. So it might not be a medical billing service. It might be something else entirely. This is all based on what's important to you. Okay. So the blocks, common misconceptions, red flags, and pitfalls. In order to find a source of income that will work for you, you must have a firm grasp of what you're trying to create. Okay. So again, it's defined internally, not externally. I already went over that with you. Um, The reason why I hammer on this is because when you pick a source of income and you start to execute, if it conflicts with the life that you're actually trying to build and create, you're sort of like dead in the water right there. So this is why I really hammer on this and why I don't take on trainees that don't have a firm grasp of what it is that they're trying to do. Okay. Um, I could sit here and be like, I take on limited numbers of trainees and you're going to get this and this and this and really just try to like make it exciting and close all of you to do the training. I don't do that because if this doesn't align with the life that you're trying to create, like you're going to really have a hard time getting past those barriers that really have nothing to do with anything except that it conflicts with what your values are. Okay. And there are possibilities so great you wouldn't know to ask for them. Okay. So again, I really hammer on this. It is of the utmost importance that what you do now builds that which you are trying to create. It's energy. It's the gas in the car. Okay. So don't follow someone else's idea of what you should be doing. And this can be difficult, right? Because we all have conditioning from when we were growing up. We all have ideas of like, oh, like I always had this idea that like, okay, the arts don't make any money, so I have to do something dry and boring to make the money. Like we have all of these ideas, women don't get paid well, all these false ideas that other people have told us, and you have to let them go, okay? Someone else's idea of success. Maybe you have a parent that thinks that only a degree makes you successful. You have to use your degree and nothing else is going to be successful. Okay. And this one is important. The latest fad that others have jumped on. The latest fad that others have jumped on. I see this particularly with like MLMs where by the time everybody's doing it, it's too late. Like it's always the early adopters that make money. And then by the time there's somebody that's like, oh, hey, I made all this money, and a bunch of other people start jumping on, it's too late because it's oversaturated. Okay. So avoid fads. Look for, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this, but look for areas that there aren't a lot of people right now. And then do the source of income that allows you to create the life that you want. Again, I'm sorry if I'm belaboring this point, but it is the main roadblock I see is that people are trying to do something that conflicts with their own personal values. I always leave this one in here because people think that this is what my life is like when really it just looks like this. I just work from my bed. Okay, what to watch out for? I went over this a little bit. Oversaturation, okay? Longevity. Longevity. Look for fields that people are always going to need, okay? Basic thing, like for example, one of the reasons why real estate agents, although the real estate is affected by the economy a lot, so it can be like really feast or famine. The longevity, people are always going to need houses. Okay, hairdressers do pretty well because people always need some degree of personal grooming. Again, there's a little feast and famine in that too, with like trends will swing from like really high maintenance to like right now we're in like a low maintenance trend, right? Where people are trying to like spend as little as they can on their hair, but they still need something. Okay. So longevity, one of the reasons why what I do does so well and why I've been able to do it for the last 15 years is because people are always going to need healthcare. When everybody's business was closing during COVID, mine was expanding because even when in that first month when like medical offices were closed, doctors were still working. They were just digging into their administrative and their accounts and trying to organize their accounts. So I actually closed more clients during that time because they were like, "Oh, okay, I'm not seeing patients right now, so let me get some things sorted out." But people always need healthcare. They always need healthcare. They will always need healthcare. So this is a source of income that at 60 years old, if I decide, you know what, let me pick up a client or two and just have like a little bit of income coming in, I will be able to do that. Unless, I mean, who knows, right? Something tremendously drastic could change, but I doubt it, right? And then the ability to buy, which means essentially that the people that you are selling to have the ability to pay you what you're asking. And in the medical field, because there's so much money in it, they have a really high ability to spend money. There's a lot of money. There's the things that they buy are very expensive, so they don't blink twice at the amount that they're spending on their billing service. I consulted a urgent care facility here in Clearwater. This was several years ago that they told me this. But what they were spending on their billing service at that time was easily like 10 grand a month. 10 grand a month they were paying that billing service and really not even blinking about it. Okay, so why do people fail? One is they underestimate the amount of effort required. And this is applies to everything. Um, It's just the way that the world works, right? Because we think like I'm gonna go to the store today. And you don't estimate that there's an accident on the way that slows you down. And you didn't estimate that that store was out of one of the ingredients you needed. So now you needed to go to another store. And you didn't estimate getting stuck behind the lady at the checkout with, 50 coupons and her checkbook, right? So that's just the way that life works. So the problem is that when you are jumping into like a new business or a new field, and especially if it's something you've never done before, when you encounter slowdowns like that, we tend to kind of internalize them and then start to doubt our decision. We'll think, okay, it's going to take me 6 months, it's going to take me a year, and maybe I had a trainee get pregnant. Actually, I've had a couple trainees get pregnant, like in the actually more than a couple trainees, now that I'm thinking about it, get pregnant in the course of building their business. And of course that slows them down. It's not a bad thing. It's just life happens, it gets in the way. The bad thing is when we start to internalize it and go like, oh, and we start to think that like it was a bad decision that we made, or it's just never going to happen, and it starts to agree with the ideas that we had before, that this sort of thing was impossible, right? Because if you have these ideas that this is impossible, and then I sit here and tell you, no, it's possible. Look, it's possible. Look, I've done it for myself and I've other people, and then you encounter these slowdowns that you start to go like, maybe she, maybe she's special. Maybe it just isn't going to work out for me. Maybe like, and we tend to like really dive into the doubts, the personal, invalidation of our own ability. And really, it's just, we just didn't estimate the amount of effort required. And it's almost impossible anyway, because we don't know when something's going to change. Maybe we have an elderly parent that now we have to devote some time to and it slows us down. Or, just like I said with the grocery store thing, like that's how life is. Like it rarely is as easy as we envision it, because we can't envision all of the random whatever. Okay. That's not a bad thing. It's only bad when you internalize it, you beat yourself up, and then you abandon course. Okay. Two is a lack of accountability or need. Okay. Sometimes our life's already comfortable and, we're just not in any hurry. And so it never happens. It's fine. Um, Lack of accountability is big. Like sometimes, we have like bad habits, or we tend to be a little bit lazy, or we need, some other accountability, which is something I didn't have. I didn't have like a group around me. Now I'm able to like kind of create a group. And then three, you weren't on fire enough about it. And usually that happens when the income you're trying to make does not align with your values and what you want in life. If you're trying to push yourself to do something that you don't really like, that you don't want to do, that feels icky, that doesn't feel and all it's going to give you is money. It's not going to give you like a life that you want. It's not going to give you more time and freedom. It's very difficult to be on fire about it enough to overcome some of that other stuff. Okay. Okay, good. This was just a cute message I got. She said, I'm so happy for you that you're living your dreams. The dreams you were talking about before your medical billing training program was even created. When we would meet up at the literally 10 years ago now, it's been a joy watching you go after every goal you set your mind to. Okay. I could not have anticipated a worldwide global pandemic just days before my flight out of the US was going to happen. There's no way I could have anticipated yet that. And yet there it was, right? Okay, it happens. Yet when it lifted, I didn't abandon it. I didn't go like, oh, maybe this wasn't meant for me. Oh, maybe this isn't going to happen. Oh, let me abandon this thing that's really important for me and go work at a job that I'm not going to be able to get out of. I didn't do any of that. And eventually I got there. She was unstoppable, not because she did not have failures or doubts, but because she continued on despite them. And this is just another point I really hammer on, because the combination of the things that life can throw at us, plus our own internal dialogue, that where we really can tend to beat ourselves up. I watch people just sort of give up and go off course, when really they just needed to keep going and realize that like Stuff happens. It's life. It doesn't mean you made a bad decision. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It doesn't mean that you're not smart enough. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means life is being life, and we have to have a sense of humor about it, and we have to keep going. Okay, here we go. The secrets. Now, if there was ever a place that if you want to take notes, you should take notes, it's this. Okay, but you don't need to because I'm going to send you the replay. No, the secrets. Number one is a white space, and I'm going to explain that. Number two is the flow of money. Three is don't sell your time. And number four is the type of income. Now let's get into this. Secret number one is what I call find the white space. Now this applies if all you got out of this webinar was this plus use income to design your ideal life, I think you're a good chunk of the way there, okay? The white space is a term that means the areas of a page without print or pictures. Okay, so like if you have a newspaper and you need to fill up the newspaper before you get it out, and there's a part of it that has no print, no nothing, that's white space. Okay, it's empty. So white space is a space where there is a problem that is not being solved. Remember I said earlier, avoid the oversaturation? There's a space where there's a problem that's not being solved. Okay. Now, let me give you an example. Years ago, there was this MLM that was like LuLaRoe leggings, okay? And the problem that was being solved was that these leggings were like insanely comfortable. Okay, they were insanely comfortable. You could buy them from your couch from a friend, and they came out with all these different cute little prints, you know? So you could have leggings in a theme that matched whatever if you were a Disney person, you could have that or whatever, right? So when these first came out, people were like, oh my God, they're so comfortable, they're so whatever. Like comfort was like a big thing, especially for moms. So there was this white space, but then over time, everyone and their mother was selling LuLaRoe leggings. So now you took this thing where it was like, this really solved the thing of like comfort, but also fun and whatever. And then it got really oversaturated. And then not only was this problem being solved by every other neighbor on the block, but it was like people had so many pairs of LuLaRoe leggings that it was getting ridiculous, right? So what you want to look for in every field you're in every skill, and this is where I'm saying my specializing in medical billing, there's always going to be a new area of white space. And the more expertise you have, the more experience you have, the more you can continue to see there's an opportunity here. There's white space here. And how do you know that there's white space? Because there's problems. People are talking about problems, right? This is something I didn't know when I was young and I was saying, oh, not medical billing, because I heard it was a problem, it was a problem, it's a problem. When you hear it's a problem, it's a problem, it's a problem, that's white space. Okay, so the doctor's biggest yet most important problem is insurance billing, right? The they're not taught how to do it in schools. It's insane to me, but they put them through all this schooling and they get out and they don't know how to navigate the industry that pays them. And the conspiracy theorist in me says this is intentional, okay? But that's my opinion. Insurance companies make it very complicated because denying claims saves them money. So it is in the insurance company's best interest to continue to make this area a problem for doctors. The doctors aren't taught how to do it in school. The billers that come out of the traditional certification programs also graduate not knowing how to do billing properly. Like I used to extern billers that came out of these certification programs. They had no idea what to do. And on top of that, they couldn't get hired because doctors know they don't know what to do. So they would come to me to get the experience and a letter of recommendation so that then they could maybe get a job. Okay. White space. White space. It's not necessarily about how many medical billers are out there. It's about how many are actually capable of solving the problems that exist. And the answer to that is very few. And I believe that that is by design. And this is what it looks like. Okay. Which is why you can have all these people going to school for medical billing and it's still a problem. It's still a problem. It's still a problem. Because that's how it's designed. That's how the whole thing is designed, in my opinion. Good. So problem, solution. That's the white space. Expert insurance billing services. Secret number two, high money flow. And this picture is here because I want you to understand this is me in Mexico. And on this particular beach in Mexico, there's all these vendors that just come through where all the tourists are in Mexico. Okay. Why? Because there's a lot of money on that beach when there's a lot of American tourists in Mexico. That's it. It's that amount of money does not exist throughout all of Mexico. That amount of money exists in areas of high money flow, where there's a lot of money, where there's a lot of tourists coming to spend. Why can Disney World charge $20 for a balloon with some helium in it? Because people are there on vacation, they've saved up a lot, they have a lot of money, and to them, it's worth it to drop $20 on a Disney balloon so that their child's face lights up and they get the Disney balloon. Okay? But the point is that there's a lot of money when people are on vacation at Disney. The more money that exists in the space you are in, the easier it will be for you to get some of it. I remember I have a daughter who's pretty entrepreneurial, and when she was like 12, I was like, "Girl, you have like a good fashion sense. You know, we loved thrifting." I was like, "Why don't we go like cultivate like some outfits? Let's put together some outfits and sell them to your friends, right?" And here's the thing. She did it, and her friends wanted the outfits because they were super cute and like, it was a great idea, but 12-year-olds don't have money. Okay. So that was the flaw in our plan was 12-year-olds don't have money and the parents don't have the time to sit down and listen why they have to have the super cute outfit. Okay. There's a lot of money in the medical field. A lot. A lot, a lot. It is totally normal to drop 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on equipment for a medical office, on service for a medical office, on there's a lot of money. Another example, just think back to this, right? Is Christmas. Christmas rolls around and suddenly we're all willing to spend money that we may or may not have. But if I asked you in June to go buy gifts for everyone you know and to redecorate your whole house and to like put it all on credit cards, and maybe go into debt, you would think I was crazy. But Christmas rolls around and suddenly the money flow is there. People are spending, 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 spending. Okay. High money flow. Secret number 3 is get paid for your expertise, not your time. Get paid for what you know, get paid for what you're good at, not the time that you do put into doing something. Okay. Your time is finite and you'll never be paid what it is actually worth. Never, never. I'm sorry, but your time that you could be spending with your aging grandmother or your child or painting, because that's what really sets your soul on fire, will never be worth $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $100 an hour. Like your time is priceless. There's no dollar amount that says, that's really worth it. Okay. Like I said, whether you're spending time with your grandchildren, whether you're doing bucket list items, like tell me how that's that hour doing a bucket list item is worth 25 or $30 an hour. It's not. Like there's no way to actually put a proper value on that. In 2018, my son spent a month in the hospital, and because of the flexibility of my job, I was able to be there the entire time. I didn't have to leave my 14-year-old son in a hospital and go to work. Tell me what is that worth? You can't put a monetary value on that. You literally cannot. So just stop selling your time and sell your expertise. Because I had shifted this mindset where it was my expertise and my knowledge that was making the money, not my time. I didn't have to ask for time off. I didn't have to figure out how to make up hours that I'd worked because that's not what we were valuing. We weren't valuing the time I was giving to people. My time was mine. What they had and still continue to have was my expertise. Okay. So shift that. Stop selling time. Also, I'm just going to make this point. A lot of people have this idea that hard work is what equals abundance and money. If I just work hard enough, I'll get here. It's not. It's false. You could work hard at $8 an hour and never ever get there. Plenty of people work hard. In fact, some of the lowest paid people, and I tell you this because I travel a lot, are the hardest workers. Hard work does not equal abundance. In fact, it equals scarcity because you're trading your time. So now your time is scarce. How much is your time worth to you? Okay. And I don't even mean monetarily. I mean, what is it worth for me to be able to be there with my son when he was in the hospital? You can't. I see too many people that don't have a proper concept of the value of their time. And I'm trying to hammer home, bring home that your time is worth a lot and you shouldn't be trading your time for money. Trade a resource that isn't finite. Trade your expertise for money. Now, the way that works in medical billing, by the way, is that I'm not paid by the hour. We're paid a percentage. So our expertise is how do we get these claims paid? Okay. And yes, we do the work to send out the claims and whatever, but that's not really labor intensive. What's valuable is that because we know how to get them paid, because we know how to take care of the denials, we're able to charge 7, 6, 7, 8% of that office's income. And it doesn't matter how much time you put into it. What matters is that you know, and then you just bill based on a percentage of what was collected. Secret number 4 is be deliberate about the type of income. Okay. And this is really important because one of the reasons people are scared to start their own business or to go out on their own is because they feel like their consistent paycheck gives them security and stability. They feel like that consistent paycheck gives them security and stability. And I'm going to show you how you can get that security and stability. In fact, more security and stability by just being deliberate about the type of income. Okay. So, number 1 is recurring income or contract income. When I sign up a client for medical billing, that income is on a contract. So they're not hiring me for 10 hours, 20 hours, or whatever. They're hiring me for a year-long contract where I'm going to invoice them every 2 weeks a percentage of the collections that they made, right? So whatever, let's say you have an office that makes $40,000 a month or whatever they make, or $100,000 a month or whatever. Every 2 weeks, I'm invoicing for my 7% or 8% or whatever of that income. And it's recurring. It is protected by a contract. If they want to end the contract early, there's a certain amount of time, I usually set between 30 and 90 days of notice that they have to give me. You don't even get that much notice when you're an employee. You're lucky if you get 2 weeks. Okay, so not only does my contract give me 30 to 90 days notice, but then there's also a buyout in the contract, right? Which ends up being like severance pay, right? So basically, it means that whatever I've billed for, but I won't be around to see come in, they're going to pay me a percentage of that as a buyout. Okay, so just by structuring the way that you are paid, you can eliminate a lot of that feeling of insecurity or instability, but you also eliminate a lot of hustle. Like, for example, MLMs often require constant selling, constant putting yourself out there. I remember in the LuLaRoe legging days, people were going live, like hawking their leggings constantly. Okay. Whereas, like, I'm going to close a client and that client's going to pay me whatever it's going to pay me. Okay. Depends on the size of the office, right? Because it's a percentage. Um, but I've had clients like, you can have smaller clients, $2,000, $3,000, larger clients, $8, $9, $10,000, but that money is coming in consistently. And then the other thing you can do is high value sales. Rather than selling like low dollar things, okay? You can figure out where the white space is in a space where there's a lot of money, where you offer premium options, premium consulting packages, premium training, premium courses, okay? So you're not constantly hustling. Let me give you an example. I have training courses that are several $1,000s. And I have on my TikTok a $27 guide to relocation in Albania. Okay. Just at a place that people can like really cheaply, but enough to like, make it worthwhile for me to do it, where people can get like the real estate agents and, just all the nitty-gritty that they need to know to move from America to Albania, because Albania is really friendly to Americans. It is almost just as hard to close somebody on $27 as it is on $5,000. It's crazy. So I personally think that you should figure out how to make your offering higher end so that you just have less stress. Okay, and then secret number 5 is the history of stability, which I went over this a little bit earlier, but find something that people need no matter what. Okay, I gave you a few examples, but there's many, many, many more. Okay, people need lots of things no matter what. And then there are lots of things that people don't need no matter what, right? Like there are a lot of when the economy kind of tanked, people stopped dropping $120 every 4 weeks on their eyelashes, or you know what I mean? Like there are feast or famine fields that are like, nobody needs fake eyelashes all the time. And even if they really do, there are much cheaper options. Okay. But healthcare, people always need that. Uh, this was during COVID, and these pictures are in here because, like I said earlier, my life didn't change when COVID shut everything down. Literally everything stayed the same. In fact, if you go back to like my memories, my history, I have posts where I'm like, um, who knew that my lifestyle was considered quarantine? Because nothing changed. I worked from home. I mean, obviously we had much less availability in terms of things that we could do. But nothing changed for me. All right, now let's get into like sort of the magic, the little boosters, the things that can really make or break you. So the key element that'll make or break you, money as energy, which I've kind of touched on a little bit. Don't do what I call the Google Maps spin, and I'll explain that. And don't keep your eye on the mountain. Don't keep your eye on the mountain. Um, One, persistence. It's always harder than you originally estimate. This does not mean you failed. This is literally everything. Okay? Literally everything. I just traveled from Albania to here, and you would not believe the amount of things that just like delayed and slowed. And like even just stepping into the check-in counter in Rome, and I get a person that is newly training, right? So my check-in takes 2, 3 times as long as it should have because they were newly training this person, right? Fine, no big deal. But do you know what I'm saying? Like you just can't control all the little things. So what you have to do is control your expectation and your mindset about them so that you don't internalize them and then go, "Oh, I gave up." Or I give up. Okay. Money is energy. Money is energy. So you begin to flow your energy out, right? Which usually is like communication. Maybe it's social media, maybe it's, some sort of promotion or whatever. And you build a momentum that it circulates back into you. It circulates back into you. Okay. Every time I stop posting on social media, I go quiet, I whatever, my money goes down because I'm not generating that momentum and that energy. Okay. Even if, like, let's say you sign up a billing service client, right? You're still doing your work and you're still communicating with the office and you're communicating with the insurance company. And because you are generating this energy, you have this expertise, you're able to fix things, that money is going to start to flow back into you. And it is a momentum. So it builds more and more and more and more. So if you start to view money as like this momentum and this energy that starts to go, and you make sure that it has a path into you, you're gonna start to see like not only does it flow, but it continues to build and it continues to build and it continues to build. And it is not your hard work labor that generates that momentum and that energy. Okay. It isn't. It's not that hard work doesn't make you any money, but just shift the way you think about it, because I think a lot of people think about it like if I work hard and I work longer and I work more hours, I'll get more money. No, you need to generate more energy, and that energy flows on a circuit. Energy doesn't just go to one thing and it just dies. It needs a circuit. It needs to be able to flow back into you. So you generate energy out and you make sure it has a path back into you, and then momentum builds. Okay, life is like Google Maps. You cannot get to your destination if it is not precisely clear where you are and where you're going. Okay, I remember being in Chicago for like a convention and I had like an old school GPS. And because of the skyscrapers, I couldn't get a GPS signal. So the map would literally spin, right? And you'll see this sometimes traveling in areas that the Wi-Fi is not as strong, the signal's not as strong. The map cannot figure out, like it just sort of spins in a way that is like, because it can't establish where you are. And if you get in a car and you know where you are, but you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up just driving around in circles trying to figure it out. So, very fundamental, but you have to know a lot of people get so wrapped up in like, oh, I just need more money. I need more money. Or I hate my job. I hate my job or whatever. No, you need to know like, where am I at? Which is why I asked those questions in the beginning, right? Like, how much, is it enough money? What's your time like? Like, where am I at? And where am I going? And when you have and where am I going is not just like, oh, I want to make $200,000 a year. It's like, no, for me, I want to live in Rome. I want an apartment in Rome, but I also want a house on the water someplace else. And like, it's very specific about where I am and where I'm going. And you'll be surprised when you are really clear about that, how the universe sort of conspires in your favor. Okay, so I said, don't keep your eye on the mountain. I said, keep your heart on the mountain. You should feel your goals in your heart. It should be something so meaningful to you that no matter what comes your way, you could not possibly bring yourself to give it up. Okay. So that's why it's so important that you don't just make whatever source of income you jump on. Don't make it about the money. Make it about the life that you're building. Make it about the things that light you up. Make it about the life that you actually want to have. And I cannot possibly tell you what that is. I cannot possibly tell you what that is. Now, what I can do, you can email me and you can say, "Hey, this is really what I want. Like if I had really my perfect life, this is really what it would look like. Do you think that medical billing will help me build that?" And I will answer you honestly. If it's not for you, it's not for you because I don't want that on me that I misled you, okay? I think that's when you look at money like energy, that's bad energy. Okay. If I flow out dishonesty and deception, that's what's going to come back to me. And I don't want it. Right. I don't want it. So, but don't make it about, yes, we want money. We want a lot of money to flow, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that what you're building is something that lights you up, is something that you are going to keep figuring out no matter what happens. The goal is not money. Is it something you love or does it allow you to do something that you love? Okay. Like medical billing, no, I didn't grow up dreaming of being a medical biller, but medical billing has offered me things that people told me were impossible. It allowed me a 20 something, I think I was like 24 or 25, I don't know, something like that, single mother of two children. It allowed me to be home and continue to provide for us. I was told that was impossible. So I don't need, and the thing is also sometimes when you have something that you really love and then you start to monetize it, now you have to serve the market, right? So maybe you're a painter and then you get into the market and you go like, okay, I'm going to paint, but the thing that makes me money is painting portraits of dogs. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But realize that like when you monetize the thing that you love, now you have to serve the market, not just your creativity. Okay. So sometimes it's better to just have a source of income that you can do a few hours a day that allows you to just go paint whatever your heart desires, right? And paint whatever your heart desires as a metaphor for whatever you would like to be doing. Like I get up in the morning, I get my work done, and then I go out and I wander around and I go sit at a cafe in Italy or wherever I am. Or I just decide, you know what, let me go to Italy for 10 days. Maybe it was longer than that, but I went to Italy in the middle of December. I was like, you know what, let me get out of here. Let me just go to Italy for a while because I can. Because I can. And if it takes 1,000 times more effort, is it still worth it? And this applies to everything, okay? And that's why you have to check in with like the things that are most important to you and what it is that you're building, because I don't really think there's any source of income that is really worth, like, unless it allows you to do something, unless it ties you, unless it allows you to build something that is meaningful to you, like what job provides that much meaning? Do you know? Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the business part. And I know I'm talking a lot, and thank you for hanging in there with me, but this is really important information. Okay, these are the four pillars, and we'll just get into this, and I'm going to show you how it relates to medical billing and the training program that I have. Okay, so four key pillars. One is the knowledge. Okay, obviously you have to have the knowledge, right? To get paid for expertise, you got to have some expertise. Simple as that. Okay. So for a billing service, this means, accurate claim submission, understanding insurance requirements, knowing how to problem solve when the issue arises. Because with the right knowledge, you can deliver consistent, reliable results for your client. Like that is what is getting you paid. Because we're not selling our time now. We're selling our expertise. So you need the knowledge. So whatever field that is for you, that's the first thing you have to get. Okay, this is just a screenshot of the training course and all of the different areas that I train you in on billing. Okay, and the certification that I give you. This is the whole guide. I have so much. Okay, detailed training guide. We have a Facebook group. We've got Google Drive files, contract samples, literally everything. Okay. Um, so then you need your business structure. Like, okay, I have this expertise. How do I structure this into a business? And again, any expertise that you have, you can do this. Any expertise. So maybe you're really good at like running a bakery, okay? Instead of being the one to bake, you figure out what is my expertise, because you're going to sell your expertise now, not your time or your labor. And then you figure out, okay, what's the business structure? Okay, so you have your organized system that makes delivery smooth, polished marketing materials that build confidence because it's a visual world. You have to show up online in a way that people are like, okay, I have some confidence in what she's doing. And then your structure keeps the operation seamless. So if you don't, you can sell anything in the world. If you can't back it up with what you deliver, you're dead. You're done. Okay. Um, so you need the structure and the meat and potatoes of what you're doing, whatever that is, whether you're selling a course, consulting, a service-based business like medical billing. And then your branding, the way that you show up online shows professionalism and inspires confidence. Okay. So the knowledge, the structure of the business, and then how you show up visibly that inspires confidence. Okay. Like I said, this is the Google Drive file where I've all kinds of stuff. I created a marketing package. So I worked with a graphic designer and we created website templates so that you get a professional website that's all been like approved by me, right? Like I basically have sat down with this graphic designer and said, okay, this is what my guys need. They need the website to look like this. They need, a solid logo. They need branding colors, because here, the thing is, there's these little simple things that actually are so impactful. You have to post on social media and in anything. You have to be visible, right? If you are visible in a way where like your business colors, like you have a certain color palette for your business and certain fonts and a certain logo, and when you show up using those, not only is the content of the message important, but you start to embed yourself in the person's mind. Okay. Because now every time they see the colors and the font and that visual message, they immediately know it's you. And now when they go, oh, I need a biller, who is that person whose posts I've been seeing? They're going to be able to scroll and they're going to be able to pick out your post because you have a visual message lying underneath that, where they start to see that it's you. It's like, why does McDonald's always use that same red and that same yellow? If you see that color combination, even if it's through with someone else, you think about McDonald's. Okay. So I created a marketing package to go with the training course so that it makes it easier and so that you come out of the gate looking like an expert, looking professional, looking established, right? And it just is this underlying message of security, of confidence, of knowledge, of expertise. So you get, these different social media posts so that it's easy for you. So you can go on your LinkedIn or whatever, post a little graphic, and you continue to like show up in people's minds. This is from one of my trainees. They said, we started the training in early July and got our first client in 4 months while doing full-time jobs and then some. We got the website and social media package and recently started using the branded social media posts on our LinkedIn accounts. Then we started sending personal emails to each contact I got from LinkedIn. This resulted in a reach from a chiropractor in distress as his current billing company had failed to deliver on a promise to help with his AR and then went completely missing. He asked for a chat, and so I scheduled it and spoke to him for 15 minutes. He said he could tell from my company's posts on LinkedIn that we were a good company, so that was pretty cool. We just started the branded posts a couple weeks ago and felt we were just getting started. I asked him questions and answered his questions and reassured him that we keep in good communication and help him with his needs and wants. He scheduled a Zoom meeting with us 2 days later, yesterday, and we answered more questions and asked him more questions. He said he was interviewing 2 other billers and would let us know on Monday. He called me a few hours later and said he felt best about us and decided to work with us. Okay, so I noticed when I introduced this marketing package that people were taking less time to close clients and the clients are bigger, like they're higher dollar value, right? There's just these little subtle things that you can do for this business or any other business where you inspire rather than saying, oh, we have all this experience, da 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 da, you just show it. You show it. And having proper branding and just a very simple way to show up looking super professional. Like if you see this on your social media, you automatically get the message of established, knowledgeable business. You don't get a message of like some scrappy person just barely starting out who may or like you get a totally different message than, if somebody had tried to like DIY something and whatever. So, it's important. It's important in any field. But you make it easier on yourself when you start right out the gate with polished, when you show up in a very polished way. Okay, and then pillar 3 is guidance or mentorship. Now, we live in a world where we have access to all sorts of information, which is beautiful because you can pretty much figure out anything just online using AI or Google or whatever. Okay. What mentorship does mentorship comes in different ways. Okay. So one form of mentorship is like, I'm here saying, this is what I did. This is what worked for me. This is what worked for others. Here's all your material. Go forth and be amazing. Okay. So you're following something that someone else who's done it before you has done. Okay. The other type of mentorship, which I've set up for my trainees, is of course you have everything that I say, all the training is by me, and I continue to do like live videos and things that like continue to help you. But then I set up a separate mentorship, which is with billers who've been through my training, okay? Because that's one thing that I have not done is been through my own training, okay? But they've been through the training, they've started their own business, they're successfully doing it, and now they're going to handhold new people through this process that they themselves have done. Okay, so this gives you the roadmap to follow. It's live help to avoid common mistakes. Like one thing that I have noticed especially with a particular group of people, is they want to try to be clever and creative and change what I'm telling them to do rather than just do exactly the way that I've said it. I've yet to have somebody who comes in who changes it in the early stages and have it succeed. Now, they can do what I said, get established, and then shoot off into their own direction and do really well. Definitely have seen that. Definitely. But when you have live help, you tend to have somebody who can go like, come back, like don't disappear off into that whatever. Come back here. Let's just do it as it's laid out. And then it's expert insights to help you navigate challenges, right? Which also, with the mentorship program that I have, means that you have somebody who can get on the phone with new prospects, with new clients, help answer questions that maybe you're not comfortable with yet. Um, so that sort of extra help, while not necessary, is very valuable. And this is a success from somebody who went through the mentorship. So Vicky has been a phenomenal mentor. Her wealth of knowledge regarding the billing and insurance world has given me the confidence and boost I needed to really get my business going. While we went through the mentor checklist and questions came up, she thoroughly answered each and every one, taking the time to make sure I really understood and could apply the information she gave me. Then, after I got my first couple clients and got going on my billing, I had more questions and she was there to help me with them all. She was readily available to help me whenever I needed it and always reliable. Knowing I could rely on her was very important to me and I could get help quickly when I was having trouble. Right? Because you're learning a new field, okay? Like you're gonna have questions. And we have a Facebook group and you can always email me, but to have that like one-on-one is awesome. Vicky helped me land my first two clients by getting me through the mentorship or the mentor checklist, practicing with me until I felt comfortable talking to doctors and getting on the phone with me and my clients to help answer questions that I wasn't able to answer when I first started out. I'm so happy I got to mentor with Vicky. I even decided to purchase more mentor time with Vicky as her help was so invaluable to me. I would not be as successful as I am today without her. Thank you, Vicky. So that's just like the extra little bit of like hand holding, which a lot of people really like. Okay, and then pillar number 4 is community and support, which is something I really wish I had because I did everything alone. But a strong support system can make all the difference. So surround yourself with people on the same journey. Get encouragement, ideas, and accountability. Celebrate wins together and learn from shared experience. Our community is here to cheer you on every step of the way. So that's one thing that's really important to me is I maintain like a tight group and we help each other out, right? Like I have some trainees that have closed like very large clients or are closing very large clients and we're able to kind of pool together resources and we have other billers that can help support and if somebody's running into something they can post in the Facebook group or if somebody has a question somebody else might have a certain niche experience and it's just an element that I didn't have when I was getting going that was really important for me to build. So we have the Facebook group, we have email support. You're always welcome to email me. I do live video trainings periodically, and I'll usually announce in advance when they're happening and then say like, listen, email me questions or topics you want me to discuss. Okay, so if you wait, you risk being stuck in the same cycle that you're in, trading time for money. Um, you miss a chance to build stable, scalable income. Okay, because that's the other thing. Like I'm not stopping the amount of clients you can close. You can keep closing clients. And if you need to like delegate some stuff and hire someone, that's cool. You can do that and you can just keep expanding. I have a trainee that they're recently talking to an office that has 27 offices. Like that is that is a lot of money and a lot of delivery. Um, Watching others succeed while you stay on the sidelines and just missing the opportunity. I do not open this course often. I just have to like really stress that. I keep it intentionally small because I want to make sure that people get the support and the mentorship. I don't ever want to get to a point where I'm too busy, where I can't give thoughtful answers, thoughtfully answer questions. But more importantly, I still want to be able to focus on the future stuff that I'm working on because right now I'm working on future sources, additional sources of income that complement the billing service income so that again, like we all have options and possibilities and a very stable, long-term, lucrative field to be in. Once the spots are filled for this, it'll close and I probably maybe we'll open it in the fall. I'm not totally sure. Um, and again, this is because this is something that matters to me. It's not something that I just want to like make as much money as I possibly can. Um, And then this is not for everyone. Like, this is not for people that need to be babysat. This is not for people that think someone else is going to swoop in and solve their problem for them. This is not for people that have a get rich quick scheme mentality. This business takes time to build. This is not for people who are going to not do the work and then turn around and blame me because they didn't do the work. This is not for people who have another idea in mind for their life and their income. Like, there's lots of ways that you can make a remote income. Like, I just went over frameworks that you can apply to literally anything. Okay. Um, and just so you know, like, I train people and personally work with people who have like a totally different field that they're in and they want to build remote income in that field. Like, I can make money either way. I have no reason to pressure you or push you into medical billing, um, just because it's the thing that I teach. Okay. I can do both. So if I don't think that this is for you, then it's not for you. And I'm gonna tell you that. The other thing is that this is not for emergency income. This is not like, oh my God, I'm gonna get evicted or whatever. Like, this is not for that. This takes thoughtful, like, you need to learn and you need to build. And when we build, like, we build with long term in mind. Like, for example, when we use LinkedIn to we build our LinkedIn up for this business, not only will that get you clients now, but everything you're doing on LinkedIn creates a base of connections and awareness that will serve you long into the future. Okay. So my interest is in you having something stable for a long time. My interest is not in get rich quick or let's, figure out how you're going to pay rent next month. So let's do something maybe a little iffy or like, that is not where I want to be. That is not where I am most valuable. That is not where there's value. Okay. So if you have like some emergency thing, you're really stressed, like, this is not for you for that. Maybe this is for you to like change course and build a better life, but this is not for emergency income fixes. Okay. Now, I told you I work on things that like are long term, like other ways that we can make more money. There is a field, I start everybody out in chiropractic because that's the best for learning for that field. There is a field in multidisciplinary where that's like chiropractors, physical therapists, like bigger offices that have different types of providers. And that is its own billing. So that's the next thing that I have right now is we start with chiropractic because that is the best way to learn to be a biller because their billing is relatively simple. And then we build on so that you can do the same amount of work that you would do for chiropractic, but make 3 or 4 or 5 times more because you're in a different field where more money flows. Okay. Remember, I told you about the flowing of the money. So this course is going to start this little add-on. I believe it'll be like June. But I will just include it in your training for free for this round of people. It will never be free again. For this round of people, you'll get that so that then you can master chiropractic, master your billing, and then shoot off into more lucrative pastures as well. And then before I leave you with your gift, um, 2 years ago, I wanted and needed to make a change in my life. Having spent the majority of my life working for others, some very good and some not so good, I decided to look at the idea of creating a business that would work around me and all the things I wanted to do. I reached out to a friend who recommended I contact Jessica. When she told me about the healthcare billing business and why she did it, I was hooked. It aligned with what I wanted to do, help people as a primary goal. And believe it or not, it appealed to me in terms of puzzles. I love digging in, figuring out why things are not doing as well as they should, and resolving it. I immediately jumped on our training and went for it. As this is my first business, I was excited and terrified all at the same time. I was fortunate enough to hook up with a wonderful doc who was in dire need of help. With Jessica's guidance, I was able to completely revamp his billing and find all the mistakes that had been missed, ignored with his previous staff. At one point, he even told me that he actually felt the tides turning. In essence, the decline had been arrested, and he was excited again as a doc. This was huge for me. This is why I entered into this profession. Being able to help others and see the results in the physical universe is the best feeling in the world. As I said before, I was nervous as a cat when I started. But with Jessica to help keep me grounded and reminding me that all the barriers I encountered were totally normal, I was able to push through. I've gone through changes that I thought never would happen, and I thank her so much for being a mentor to get me this far. I'm looking forward to taking on more clients, learning more, and doing the same over and over. Thank you so much for what you do and what you did for me. Now, her point on helping is a valid one because what happens when things aren't billed properly in a doctor's office? What happens is the patient gets the bill. They get a bill their insurance should have paid for. And that's not good, in my opinion. Like, that's one of the things I'm really working on in the industry to change is, the only person that wins when billers don't know what they're doing and when it's made overly complicated is the insurance company. And I'm not about that. I think that Americans deserve the healthcare coverage that they pay for through their insurance. Okay. So again, just a note that like if this is for you, please don't wait because these spots close and I don't open this often. I have other things that I also do outside of this. A lot of them right now is I've got this huge vision for what's happening for my trainees and the direction that we're headed in the healthcare field, which is going to be powerful and lucrative, but it requires my time and attention. So this is opening now. It might open one more time this year. That's my plan for this year. And if it does, it'll be like in the fall. So now is the time. I do payment plans. I have a company that finances. Like if you want to do it but you can't figure it out, you can email me. If you're not sure and you're like, I don't know, and here's why. If you have other business ideas, like if you saw the formula that I just laid out and you're like, wait a second, maybe this could apply to this, and you just want some feedback, I'm happy to give it. Okay. I just want more people who have more time, more freedom, because those are people who are alive. Those are people who are able to make, I know this sounds so cheesy, but it literally makes the world better. Okay. Like when you have people that are stressed out and they're cranky and they're commuting and they don't love what they do, but they have to do it and they're going to work for a paycheck to put the roof over their head, to go back to work for the paycheck. It's miserable. Like people are cranky. They when people are able to be fulfilled and when they do what they love and when they're there with their families and when they're able to donate to the causes that matter, that in the very small way that we can manage helps make things better. It helps make the world better. Like I said, for me, this has never been about money. This is about freedom and about coming alive, right? And what the world needs more than anything is people who have come alive. Like I watch in digital nomad communities where people have gotten out of like the very high cost of the US and they have this remote income. Like I'm watching Americans right now go into Albania and do what they can to fix the stray dog situation in Albania, which if you probably don't know about that, but it's bad, right? You can't do that if you're working all the time and you're stressed out and you're cranky and you don't even see a point to any of it. So, people who have figured out some freedom, who figured out some flexibility, who figured out even just the knowledge, if I never hear from you again, and you had enough knowledge that you could go, okay, I'm going to build another source of income. And now you become that kind of person that has come alive and gets to do the things that actually matter and see their family. Then to me, that is my pay. That is enough because the world needs people who have come alive. And in order for people to come alive, they have to get out of this time money trap that is intentional and part of a system that keeps you locked in. Okay. And I know that that is maybe woo woo and maybe cheesy and whatever, but that is what lights me up for me, right? Okay, so to get the information on the training course and the different options, there's the course plus the promotional material that I went over, and then also an option to add mentorship if you want mentorship. Go to digitalnomadjess.com, that's my website, and then go to courses and Billing Rebels. Okay, Billing Rebels. And just so you know, okay, I'm just going to say this. I wasn't going to say this. My trainees are called Billing Rebels. And my whole other thing that's coming for doctor's office is called Revenue Revolution. Because who creates a revolution? Who starts a revolution? Rebels do. So we have some really exciting and very well paid things coming for those who are, but you have to, in order to do the stuff that's coming in the future, like the next year, two, whatever down the line, you have to get through your training as a biller and have that experience as a biller. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to shortcut that. Like you have to have that to feed into what I'm to this healthcare revolution that I am creating.